been made very easy by my worthy predecessors. So however good or however expert, however technologically equipped we may be, we can always land up in clot retention, and that is a reality with which we all have to live. So let us get to the heart of the matter, because I am given a limited mandate and time. So when we have a clot retention vis-a-vis the bladder tumors, we can have three scenarios. So we will break this talk into the scenarios that are faced with, and then how we remove the clot, and then eventually how do we hemostasize. So basically we can be faced with these scenarios that we might have a surgically naive tumor which is bleeding, and the patient presents to you first time as clot retention. Or there may be a situation where the tumor has been partly resected, which happens most of the time in the hands of self-styled urologists that we have all around us. And when the person starts bleeding, they panic, they do something hanky-panky, and then they pack the patient off and send to you. Or it may be a post biopsy where you have not attempted or somebody has not attempted to resect, has just taken a biopsy and left it bleeding, and the patient presents to you. And basically the fourth one, after a proper resection of tumor, whatever technology or whatever expertise have been used, we always can have it. Oh, my slides are not moving. Okay. So when we are faced with the clot retention, in my opinion, you should try and intervene earlier rather than later, before your patient becomes hemodynamically unstable, and before your anesthetist is reluctant to give some kind of anesthesia to your patient, and before the patient and the relatives are so irritable that they refuse to give you a consent for what you want to do because the patient is jumping up and down. So an early intervention is, in my opinion, should be the rule. And you should never try to evacuate the clots under local anesthesia or under sedation, because a fighting patient and a fighting urologist are a fatal combination. You might land up in a deeper shit if you are doing it without an anesthesia. So to evacuate, yes, the most standard and the most commonly used technique is that you put in a sheath and you use the standard Alex evacuator or any other kind of evacuating device. But the problem comes when there has been some time elapsed between the retention and the clot formation and the intervention. These clots, they tend to organize and they refuse to come. Then you are faced with a situation where the evacuator itself may not be sufficient. In that situation, you can use a suction cannula, which we use for PCNL. It can be used blindly after you have had some experience doing it with that. Otherwise, you can use it in two different ways. You can use a guard at the back of it, which let it go to a certain extent so that you do not perforate the bladder. Or you might even use it through a standard equipment for morcellation, which is used to introduce the morcellator. You can use a suction cannula under vision to suck out these organizing clots. Even then, sometimes it may not be possible to evacuate a clot which is organized for some time. In that case, what you do, you introduce your resectoscope and try to break these organized clots into pieces with the help of a standard loop, and then you can evacuate them by either using a suction cannula or by using a standard evacuation device. So these are some of the tips and tricks to evacuate the clots. Obviously, one should not be very over enthusiastic to push and pull, because even your evacuator can lead to a perforation, or a potential perforation can be converted into a real perforation and extravasation. So one has to keep his cool, has to intervene early, has to do it under anesthesia with the tricks that we have already discussed. Then obviously, after the clot has been evacuated, one has to look for the bleeders. And there are situations where the bleeder is located in a very hidden place, especially if it is behind, in a male, behind the growing lip of the prostate, which is at the bladder neck, and you have an acute angle between the intravesical part of prostate and the bladder wall at the neck around. It may be at any situation. So there are a few things that we can do. We can use a 70-degree lens or maybe a flexible cystoscope to visualize these bleeders which are hidden behind the bladder neck. If it is not possible to reach to it, then what you can do is you can partly resect the lip of the neck in the area concerned, and then after that you can do transvaginal, transrectal or suprapubic manipulations as the situation may demand, to flatten the angle which is there between the bladder neck and the bladder wall. And for that you must remember that a full bladder is almost a fixed structure and it cannot be manipulated. So to manipulate and flatten this angle to reach to the bleeders, one has to empty the bladder partly, keep your irrigation at a low rate and low pressure, flatten that and reach. And then you can coagulate these bleeders. Now, a lot of things have been said about the bleeders in the lateral wall, or so, I mean, it's anybody's practice. But even if you are using a standard monopolar cautery, a partly filled bladder would not reach close to the nerve so that it can induce a jerk and you can end up with a perforation. So if you keep the current low, if you keep the bladder only partly filled, then I think jerk will not come. But you have to be very careful about the bleeders in the lateral wall. And people say that bipolar is much better than monopolar, obviously, because the area of flow of current is very low and it does not have to pass through the whole body from the plate to your device. And obviously the lasers are supposed to not induce the jerk. So if one has the luxury of having the lasers, then lasers at low energy are good to achieve hemostasis. One should ensure after stopping the flow of irrigation that the bleeding does not reoccur before you come out and you put in a catheter and start irrigation. So before I end my talk, I would emphasize to my younger friends that a situation of panic, a hurry to do it in local anesthesia, and setting your cautery at the higher levels will only make the things worse. Because a high cautery, even in the coagulation mode, will start cutting and charring. If you keep on cutting, the bladder wall does not give you much space. So, and the similar thing happens when you keep charring, your loop gets stuck there, you remove it, the bleeding comes back, and that way you keep digging a hole into the bladder wall. So try and avoid that. Keep your cautery at the lower settings, and that may do the trick. Thank you very much, and stay safe, all of you.
Thank you, Balbir. Could you unshare? And while I'll ask you a question, while Brijbhanu Naik gets on to and share his presentation, Brijbhanu, please share your presentation. Balbir, what kind of evacuator you would recommend? There are various evacuators where a bladder is full of clots. Which evacuator you say is the best?
You see, in good old days, we used to use this Alex evacuator. I find this plastic bottle type evacuator where you have the tubing which comes from connection to the bladder and it dips deep into the water that you have. Wherein when you squeeze it, it is easy to squeeze and you can control the pressure. Plus, when the clots come, they go deep into the water and they do not have a chance to go back when you release it.
Won't you agree that Toomey is a better way to get those clots out?
I mean, it is anybody's experience, but if you ask for me, I prefer that plastic flexible bottle kind of evacuator, which I find really, really good. But to me is a good option, no doubt.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.